some people don't really think that the pulpit has sin in it, that we are obsolete from sin.
That's so not true.
Yeah.
Listen, we got more people in the pulpit that are adulterers, fornicators, embezzlers, swindlers. I'm gonna leave that part
Liars.
alone. Liars and cheats, drinkers and smokers, get high before they come to the pulpit. I mean, the list goes on. And I mean, but they can preach the house down. I mean, I know some folks that can preach and make the blind person able to see. But they don't have a relationship with God. I mean, we see this all the time, but we have spent so much time covering. You know, it's okay. That's the pastor. That's the man of God. That's the woman of God. We just pray them through. You know, everybody has faults and everybody has issues, but when it comes to ministry, when it comes to the mantle of ministry, we all have a responsibility.
Amen.
And I think one of the things, let's just say it like this. We don't have an Ananias and Sapphira experience, meaning that we hide behind our sins and no one doesn't care, and they don't have the discernment that we need to say, hey, you're wrong, or we don't want to rock the boat, so to speak. If I say this about the man of God or woman of God, then people are going to come at me, and people do come for people. People have been threatened. People have been threatened to be killed. People have been threatened with drugs. You'd be surprised at what some of the saints do, especially in leadership. There's a lot of sin in the pulpit, and I believe that's one of the major reasons why we are struggling as a body of believers across the board. It doesn't matter what denomination. It's because of that. Because it starts from the top all the way down.
You're exactly right. And I think that the people of God want to close their eyes to what the people in the pulpit try to hide. They want to pretend like we are Jesus and we can walk on water instead of believing that we are human and we have the same issues that they have.
Amen.
Right. This is true.
We fall short just like they do.
Every day.
Absolutely.
Every day.
And I think also that they criticize us harder. You know, I do know that we do have a different standard, but y'all, sometimes they hard on the man and woman of God.
Just because.
I think that there's a difference between spirituality and religion.
There is.
Because you
There's a big
religiously
difference.
brush your teeth every day. That don't make you have a relationship with that toothbrush.
That's right. That's right.
So
Right.
I think that,
That's a good
like you
analogy.
said, that people can pray a blind man to see. They have worked on their religion so much that they forget their relationship with God.
Well, you also have to remember, Pastor, that the gifts come without repentance.
Amen.
So, you know, it's one thing to be gifted and a whole nother thing to be anointed.
Amen.
Right.
Amen.
That part.
Amen.
That's the part. I had someone ask me a couple of years back, and they were asking me who was my favorite preacher, who was my favorite speaker, and I said, no, I don't really have one. And they were adamant, like, you've got to have a favorite preacher or a speaker. I said, let me put it to you like this. When I hear a man or woman of God preach and they're in the pulpit and leadership, I'm listening for a sound. I don't hear that sound, that anointing. I hear a lot of fluff. I hear a lot of good words. I hear a lot of articulation. I hear a lot of scriptures that they can say with their eyes closed in their sleep. But what we don't hear is the sound and the presence of God. You're right, Pastor Cherie. People are hard on us. They have an expectation. So when we get into the news or when they talk about what we're doing or what we've done wrong, it is such a huge issue. But we are human, but we are called to a higher calling and standard. So at what point do we make ourselves responsible for the sins that we're dealing with? A lot say, I can't help it.
Right.
You know, I'm struggling with this, so God knows my heart. If one more person say that to me, God knows my heart. Listen, God does know our heart. He literally emphatically does, and the heart is deceitfully wicked. And the heart will send you straight to hell while you're sitting in the pulpit. So to say that so loosely and facetiously, again, has cost us so many different things in the church, which anything goes because, well, the pastor's doing it.
Right.
The bishop is doing it. The apostle is doing it. The first lady is doing it. This leader is doing it. That leader is doing it. So what are we handing to the people that are part of our congregation? And even more so importantly, what are we handing to the next generation?
We also have to be careful, too, Dr. Mathis, that we don't take the people into sin with us.
That part.
Amen.
We
Amen.
also need to
Yes.
be careful of that
Yes.
because
Yes.
you know a lot of people that are in the pulpit are having these parties and they're going out with their members and you know and we don't take accountability for that.
And that's what it is. I don't know if any of you, I know we all remember that when we were growing up, that whoever was our pastor had a pastor.
That's
Right.
good. That's
And
good.
their pastor was quick to, if something was out of line, their pastor, when you would see him come to the church,
Yes.
You know it's trouble.
and you
Somebody
knew
in trouble.
that if their pastor showed up,
Yeah.
something was wrong.
Right.
They wasn't just coming through to pat him on the
The
back
back.
because
Yeah.
there was a certain look
Yeah.
they had when they hit
Amen.
the door.
That's right.
It's
That's
like you
right.
wouldn't answer my phone calls, but you gonna talk to me because I'm here. There is not a lot of accountability now
No.
because it's like the overseers are afraid to talk to whoever they're over
Right.
because
Yeah.
the overseer has some stuff
Yeah.
and
They
whoever
don't want to come out.
and they know that the people that's up under them know
Right.
some of their
No,
stuff
that's
because
right.
you did it when I was around.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
don't get to talking too quick.
Right.
Because I know your stuff.
Right.
But all the way
That's
down,
good.
Right.
there needs to be accountability. I've never seen in my life, in my adult life, some of the foolishness that we're looking at right now.
Right.
It used to be a time when a pastor could come and sit you down
Right.
Without being sued
without being sued.
or cursed out.
It wasn't none of that. You were gonna sit down and you were gonna like to be sat
Or
down.
excommunicated from the church.
Yeah, that
Yeah. You better come
That
on here.
part.
That part. Okay.
But now we're so quick to, we'll just let them preach through it. You gonna let them keep vomiting over me?
Right. Right.
No, thank you. No,
Right.
there needs to be accountability.
I like that sit down part though, Tanya. Evangelist. I like that part. I remember that we was taught as children to sit ourselves down or you will be sat down.
Right.
Amen.
For instance, for me, and you know I'm very transparent, I turned 18 and got pregnant. I was the president of the choir. I'll never forget, New Creations. And I went to that rehearsal. My papa made me go to that rehearsal and tell the choir I can no longer serve. And guess what? I went and sat on that front row of the pew and watched them practice.
Come on.
It wasn't no going home after that. It was I was going to be held accountable because
Right.
when you know better, you do better.
That's
Right.
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 You know when you know, and I knew better.
Right.
I, just because I was young, then excuse me because I learned. You know what? And so we have to get back to the place to where if we don't sit ourselves down, we hear the man or woman of God that's over our life to sit us down. Because if not, we spread that stuff over the congregation.
And how about the man or woman of God who tries to sit down and the person up under them
That's
or
good, too.
over them tell them, no, it's okay. That's when you go, no, I'm going to sit down.
Right.
And I'm going to have somebody come in
Right.
and minister to my people so I can get myself together also.
Right.
Because what sense does it make for you to get up and vomit?
Right.
But you know, I want to go back to what Pastor Cherie was saying earlier when we talk about whatever we are, the people are always as their leaders. And one of the things that we forget to think about is that, one, we're more spirit than we are flesh because God is a spirit being. So this flesh houses who we really are, the authentic who we
Yeah,
are.
that's good, Dr.
Authenticity who we
Malcolm.
are. But then when we are preaching, when we are teaching, when we are singing, when we are talking, whatever we are from the pulpit in that sin, it goes out to the people. Then you
Yes.
find people committing adultery that we're never thinking about.
Right.
You find people
The
fornicating that will never
It's
think
the
about that.
spirit.
You
You're
find
right.
people with issues with pornography, with masturbation, with come on, I'm serious now. So I
Yeah.
want to talk about this.
Yeah.
People that lie, that steal, cheat. People start cursing folks out. People go back to drinking, and all of that comes from the pulpit. I remember when, and I'm like Pastor Cherie being very transparent. I remember in the middle of I was midway through ministry. I was in my early 30s. I showed up for church every Sunday. And I preached whenever it was my time to preach. I was at the altar every Sunday. And every Sunday, I came in drunk, and every Sunday I went home and drank because I was married to a man who was off the hook, and that was my only way to survive. Do you think the leadership sat me down? Absolutely not. Do you think they told me that I should sit down? Absolutely not. And when I wanted to sit down, it was like that. Come on, you can do this. You're gonna be all right. You're gonna pass. And I'm looking out at people who really need something. It was a real hard learning season because no matter what, it didn't matter that I showed up with the robe on. It didn't matter that I showed up to pray for folks. I was in sin from the pulpit.
Right.
And nobody thought enough or had enough discernment to say, this is not okay.
Right.
That taught me a very great lesson, but it also took me back to my roots because they would sit you down. I remember my mother getting remarried and the pastor sat her down right when she was getting up to sing in the choir. You know, you won't be singing, take that robe off and sit down. She took the robe off and sat down. So we have this, and we forget the fact that just because we hide it in the fleshly realm doesn't mean that it's not showing up in the spirit realm. And that's where we have the issue. People be literally about to lose their mind. I don't know what happened to me. I don't know what's wrong. And look at your leader.
That's good.
It used to be a thing called your slip is showing.
Oh, your slip.
You know, you ought to be able to walk up to somebody, and I'm not talking about just outright clowning people.
Right.
Now, there are a few that needs a little clowning session.
Don't get me clowning session.
Now, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
You get your red nose and you come in there with your thing and say, it's on. But, you know, I'm talking about the people that you take them to the side.
Right.
And you say, excuse me. Your slip is showing, and when they get that look, then that opens up the conversation,
right?
And then you can talk. You know, you can talk to them. But we're in a time in a season where you can't tell nobody nothing
Unless you want to fight.
Yeah, and it's like
let me ask this. So we're up here and we're talking about sin in the pulpit. What do you think about the fact that so many people before us, we have lost a generation. And this generation feels like we're hypocrites. Yeah. Let's just be honest.
Right, that's good.
They don't see the deliverance in the church. So then they wonder, I don't want to go and play church.
Right.
So we have a whole generation that basically has turned its back on God because of what we did.
Come on. And what we are doing.
And what we are doing.
Yeah, we are doing.
So church is not the place that it used to be when my grandmother was gone. It's not that same place. It used to be a place to get away. It used to be a place of reprievement with our civil rights. It used to be a place where we went to for healing.
That's what I was
It's
gonna
not
say.
that place anymore.
No.
It's not the same place that it used to be when I was a child.
I need you, Jesus.
Amen.
At the altar.
Amen.
Just
Amen.
giving God just everything. Just
Right.
laying it all out. Not leaving. You know, people take that word Terry for not what it means.
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
We need
That's
to go
good.
back to
That's
where
good.
we just lay on the altar and give it all to God. They're not doing it that. Matter of fact, church is being rushed now.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
cattle herd. That's a cattle herd.
It is.
Move, go up, get somebody lay their hands on your head, go back to your seat. Don't care if you've been delivered. Don't know what you came up here for. We don't care. But we have to hurry up. But we will take
on the
an
time
eon
clock.
to get that
Right.
offering.
yeah.
Oh,
That third
you better
offering,
say it.
that second offering,
That benevolence.
the benevolent offering, whatever other offering, pastor's offering,
Bills
birthday
and
weekend
funds.
offering,
Yeah,
whatever
all the
offering.
different
All the
offerings.
offerings.
Yes.
Because that's what we become.
But we are not concerned about the generation. You all know that we could never run in the pulpit. We could never play in church.
Oh,
We could never talk when people are being delivered and demons are being slayed out. But now you see people out on their phones, not just the kids. I went to a church a couple of years ago where they was having some kind of anniversary. That in and of itself was interesting. That's for whole nother conversation. But the people where we were sitting, can I tell y'all that they never paid attention to anything that was going on in that service? They were on cell phones, tablets. One lady was over here gossiping about somebody else, and somebody else was arguing, and the kids was running around turning cartwheels, and my grandchildren was looking like, what in the world? Because we don't do that. And nevertheless, everything in the pulpit was still happening. But when you have sin in the pulpit, it resonates out to the entire congregation, but also to the entire community. Because you have our generation that see the pastor or the man or woman of God coming in and out of the hotel.
Right.
You see that this generation sees that man or woman of God, that leader that buys the drugs from their friend or from them.
Exactly. That's
They
it.
see
That's
this
it.
stuff, and then they get up and they preach and they lay hands on folks, but then they go home and they curse out their spouse, beat her up, and she beat him up, whatever. I mean, it starts at home, because it goes back, like you said, it's a difference between religion and relationship.
Right.
People don't have a relationship with God because we have taken on the world system when we never should have. The world system should take on what we bring as a church.
Because church has become a business.
Yes,
It's
it
a
has.
huge
It's
business.
become a
Big
business.
It's a job.
Right.
Yeah, they better be
Now, you know
100
where I
plus K a
think-
year.
I think where a lot of our things went wrong was when the cliche came up, come as you are.
Right.
Yes.
I believe that was the downfall of a lot of it.
Yeah.
Now, that did not mean
Come on.
literally what they were saying.
Right.
You know, and it literally sent a generation into,
A frenzy.
I don't have to come with a skirt on.
Right.
Okay, that's fine if you don't want to wear a skirt, but at least have on appropriate clothes.
Right.
When did it become okay for a woman to sit on the front row with her legs gapped open in front of the men and the women in the pulpit?
Right.
When we were growing up, women didn't sit on the front row.
Right.
A usher did not let them on the front row.
Well, let's start right there, though. We don't have ushers anymore that's taking their proper role as ushers. Because I remember an usher, if you had gum in your mouth,
Oh, with a white
See,
glove.
we all know this, right? We all know
all
this.
know
White
it.
glove. And they wouldn't say a word. They would just come
And
to you
you
and do
knew.
this.
Come
Right.
get it, and you know what you needed to do.
There was no attitude. You just spit the gum
Just
out
did.
because you know there was no talking back, no
or
any of this.
the mothers of the church
Oh yes.
that were teaching the younger women.
Right.
Give you that
Obsolete
safety
now.
pin. Give you that safety pin. Wipe that polish off. Wipe
Right.
the lip stuff off while they smile. Now, baby. Got all this stuff. But when we talk about come as you are, and people misinterpret that, you know, because we have so many people making excuses, but well, I got to get this together, get that together, got to buy clothes today. No, come as you are, how you are as a person. God will take care of the rest. But you're right. You know, I have worked altars where women have sat on the front altar. Not only have their legs been gapped, but there's absolutely no underwear. When they
Come
get ready to
on.
pray for them, they roll across the floor, stuff just flying everywhere, and the men are excited to see that.
Right.
You know, because again, it comes from the pulpit. Everything goes back to our relationship with God, and we see this generation of people sharing to the generation after us that is coming up, and it's the most scariest things, that it's okay to go to church and just do what you do and leave and go home and do whatever you do and come back and keep the cycle going, like the book of Judges. Just serve the gods of this world, not the God, but the gods of this world,
Come on.
and give God just this much. This a whole Cain and Abel thing. I don't really need to have a relationship with God. My relationship is when I give my tithes and offering, whatever I feel like giving God on any given Sunday. My relationship is that I show up to God. Now, God, I showed up to the house of God on a Sunday. It is actually not only a business, but it is a social club.
Right.
On a Sunday.
Yeah.
Let's see what you got on. Let's see what you got on. Let's see who can preach the hardest. Blah, blah,
I'm
blah,
gonna
blah,
go
blah.
hang with my clique because these is the people that's giving the most tithes, and they gonna run the church
And
anyway.
we're going to eat after.
Right.
Not the rest of y'all, just
Yes.
Right.
Just the click.
And we'll drive by you and know you need a ride.
Right.
In the rain.
Or you hungry and we going to eat and we
Right,
ain't taking
right,
you with
right.
us
Because you're not our type.
because you're not part of our clique.
Because see, that's what sin brings on.
That's
right.
We have
That's
arrived.
Right.
But we're still in the earthly realm, but we have arrived. We see so much of that, and it just really, it breaks my heart, because one thing that we forget is that this generation of us, we are so blessed to have had the opportunity to have that foundation.
Amen.
But yet that foundation is what we're supposed to give back to this generation, and we are not giving it back. We're so engulfed in ourselves. Let me put it to you like this. We're so busy platforming until we don't even, I can't
You better
do
say it.
another conference, another seminar, another this, another that, and we come in, everybody got to see who has on what, and you have just left the bed with him, her, they, them, it, whatever, and you've done whatever, and you show up and you're talking about we had a glorious time of the Lord, and it's just as empty, you know, and then you leave and you come back the same.
The
But we
exact
keep
same
doing this
way.
over and over. So when is it that we are going to come to a place that we're really delivered and different? Not until we come out of sin. And again, It starts at the pulpit. You can go online and you can buy you a first class ticket to a storefront church or whatever building you want. Say this is my certificate right here. I'm a pastor. This, that, and there is no overseer. There is no person over you. I am it. No nobody tell me nothing to do. God tell me, and I listen to God when I get ready. Right. But I'm still living how I want to.
And that's why we have so many independent churches now and so many people, is because they don't want a covering. They don't want to have nobody to be accountable to. Exactly. They don't want, they got so many don't wants. So they will go online. They will get them a little ordination piece of paper. And that's what they call it, a little piece of paper to be able to do what I want to do.
Yep. I've never seen so much of that. You just started preaching. Weren't you an usher last week? And now you're a bishop?
Right.
Apostle.
You just and now you got a preacher's collar and you got a
different color preacher's collar.
Right. Now you the bishop, and it's like, weren't you just?
Yeah. You just got 5 minutes ago.
2.5. And you don't. And then on top of all that, you can't help no one.
Right.
You can't pray for no one,
right?
Because you haven't gone through the proper God steps.
Come on now.
To get where you need to go.
That's it.
You're going through the worldly way. You're going through the internet, but you haven't taken the proper God steps to be elevated.
Exactly.
I'd rather do it God's way and go through the proper channels instead of going through your channel and be clowned or embarrassed, because you will get embarrassed by God.
Yes,
He will embarrass you.
He will pull the covers right from over you.
You know, it's like, go through the proper channels. Do what you gotta do. Don't let nobody. Oh, you can sing. You ought to be over the choir.
You can't sing.
I'm good. I'm good. You know what? You did a great thing. You ought. You know, you've been called to preach. What the parking lot prophets?
Parking lot prophets.
You know, it's like go through the proper steps.
Well, you know, the proper steps calls for the anointing.
Come on.
Which the anointing calls for some stuff.
Right.
And I'm saying it lightly. You're going to go through something.
Amen.
You're going to go through something. We can't just overnight anoint ourselves.
Right.
And say, this is... We have to get to the place to where we let God do it, and we do need to go through the proper channels. We got to get to the place to where we are held accountable to someone. We have to get to the place to where we'll sit down and be an Indian and don't always have to be a chief.
Right. Come on.
We can serve and not always have to lead. Right. We have to get to the place to where we have a spirit of humility.
Yes.
And not a spirit of manipulation. I mean, I'm just saying, we have to get to the place to where we are humbling ourselves unto the anointing of Jesus Christ to do what He's called us to do. Now, this is the thing. We have a whole bunch of pastors, bishops, preachers, and teachers that want to do all of the preaching and all of this stuff, but they don't want to serve the people of God. I ain't never seen so many people that won't go in the houses and pray for bereaved families no more.
That's right.
Bereaved families
go to the hospital.
Right. Or the convalescent hospital.
Won't go serve communion.
Right.
Come on.
What happened to those days? You know what I'm saying? We have to get back to that stuff, because that's what God has called us to do. We have to get back to Acts. We're not there anymore.
That's the missing component, though.
That is
the missing component, because we don't serve the community the way that we used to.
Right, not at all.
And that's how, you know, the babies are the answer now.
They are.
We've lost the generation, but we don't have to lose two.
That's right.
Right, we've already lost two.
We
need to lose
we don't use to. We can get the babies while they're young and bring them up in the way that they should go. Because we failed to do that.
That's because, again, I said, going back to everybody has to have a platform. Everyone has to be on top. But here's my question. When we think about sin in the pulpit, where exactly did it start, where it come from? Because when you think about that, it goes back to what we've been saying. There's no relationship. God requires relationship. And there are many people that are in the pulpit that have no business being in. They're just straight hirelings, and yes, I'm going to say it, and straight pimps.
Right.
Straight pimpers. Yes, I have to say that.
Yes, Lord.
Because this is what we have, because it's a business.
It is.
How many people can I get to be under me because that makes me feel good. It makes me feel important. How much money can I get because I need to buy this, that, and the other? How many cars can you drive at one time?
Right.
How many houses can you live in at one time?
Right.
How many trips can you take in 1 year?
That's right.
And how many jets do you need to get you so you can go and preach to the people? Can you get your behind on an air flight like everyone else?
And here's the
But see,
thing,
you start to have all of that, so then it goes back, like you said, we're not serving the community.
Nope.
I couldn't, in my right mind, be a leader in my community, and I'm sitting at the house on top of the hill, and the people don't have lights, or they don't have food, or they're catching the bus to come so they can hear whatever God is giving me to say.
Right.
But yet I'm not concerned about that. I cannot. So that when you do not have a relationship with God, you care nothing about what happens with the people. It's been raining. I've caught 3 buses to come here, Pastor, to see you, man of God, woman of God. You didn't even think enough, and you don't have enough discernment, if you have any left, to see that I'm struggling. And I'm about to be put out any day now, right? And you got space, but you don't want to have anyone in my house because I don't want those spirits. I mean, this is all kind of stuff. But when you don't have a relationship with God, you are going to have sin in the camp, and you're going to have sin in the pulpit. And the sin can be simple as something that I refuse to forgive, or I refuse to serve the people.
You better come on.
Because in order for you to be a great leader in a pulpit, you have to be a great follower. You have to be a great servant. You have to be a great connectivity with the people.
Have a pastor's heart. Do we
Right.
even say that anymore?
Right.
No,
Right.
Do we even say that anymore?
No, that's good.
Is that old now? Is that old school?
Girl, they be like, you say what?
We
I
have to
pastor's
bring
heart?
that
What is
back.
that? Right.
That's
and then we have those that are really trying to do that, and they're the ones that are passed over,
Right.
Because
Right.
because they
Right.
get talked about. Oh, you just a punk. What doc? You know, and doc. You ain't got this doc, and it's like. But here's a man of God who works every day, and will help his people.
Right.
And because he's doing it God's way, because he is sent by God to this congregation, they're the ones that suffer behind the other jokers, the pimps, that are riding around. You know, you living off your people. You living off their backs.
That's right.
So
That's
let me
right.
ask y'all this.
Robbery.
Let me ask y'all this. So, can the real people that serve God's people stand up? That's what I'm saying.
That part right
Yeah.
there.
Can the real
Yeah.
people?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to end with today, is that I want to challenge all of the pastors, preachers, bishops, apostles, leaders in full to stand up and be counted and be a servant just as well as you want to be a leader.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Do what God has called you to do and be the best that you can be. Remember that saying?
Right.
Be the best that you can be. I challenge all of the clergy in 2019 to be the best. And don't let sin
Right.
be in your pulpit.
Amen.
I'm Dr. Cherie Baisden Nickelberry, the host of Conversations with Women of God, and my co-hosts are
Pastor Sherry Henderson.
Dr. Idisa Mathis.
Evangelist Tanya Barr.
and we love you, and we'll see you next time. If you liked us, please go on our Facebook page, Conversations with Women of God.
Yes.
You'll be able to see all of us there and our show. God bless you, and we love you.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
We bless you. We lift your holy name.